Hello folks, hope you're doing well. Something got my attention earlier. And yeah, I'm going to make a little statement here. If you want to trigger me, just tell me that the church is doing a good job. Yeah. That's going to trigger me like nothing else. Oh yeah. I've had people doing that. Like the church I've been in recently. I walked past that church about 3 or 4 years ago. And yeah, when I was coming back up, they're just finishing the service. I went in to say hello. And the person who I met in the entranceway was saying, "Oh, it's a great church. Yeah, the pastor's really good. Church is doing really, really well." And I said, "Okay. So are the queues of people trying to get in?" She went, "I don't know what you're saying." Ooh, well, you just said the church is doing really well. You shouldn't have said that, really. If the church is doing really well, in a time when society is basically, in the gutter, and for most people, they understand the world is going to do them no favours in any way, shape or form. They have an incredibly tough life. If the church is doing well, there'd be people queuing around the effing block. Because there would be God in your church working. That's the whole bloody point of the church doing well. There'd be God working. There'd be miracles. There'd be signs and wonders. There'd be healings. There'd be deliverances. There'd be all that crap. And but the church is doing well. Fuck off. You blithering fucking idiots. You've got people in the world that are deaf or hearing impaired that are having to have cochlear implants. Why? Because the men and women of God are too busy pissing around with church, pretending that the church is doing well. Yeah. Even talking about it triggers me. Yeah. Generally speaking, in most of my videos, I don't swear. But as soon as I'm talking about the church, my God, I'm filled with such a rage. You've got people in society who desperately need God. And these people, when they come across things like Christmas and they start to look into a bit, they hear about the signs and wonders of the early church. They hear about the Lord healing people, delivering people, setting people free from the crap. And they're looking at the church thinking, "Excuse me, what the fuck are you not doing? You are supposed to be his representatives upon this earth." When the world closed down because of COVID, what was the church doing? When the world most needed a church, a light in the darkness, what the fucking Nora was the church doing? Generally speaking, nothing. Nothing. I mean, on that day of the 19th of September, when Mrs. B come and stood next to me, they had the example in a church, which, again, another trigger for me. Yeah. Somebody on the online thing was describing how her husband has COVID and how their church, wonderful church, his church I think it was, how his church was saying that they're praying for him. Well, I imagine his church is pretty local to where you are, I guess, because before COVID he was getting there, wasn't he? So did any of those people actually come over and lay hands upon him? No, they were doing intercessory prayer for someone that they could have gone over and prayed for. Why? Because they were afraid of COVID, maybe. I don't know. You put your fear of COVID above this man's life. God. Really? But you're praying for him, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, but it's not even like years ago. They had these prayer meetings where people were actually healed. But the problem is that they dealt with it in such stupidity in some circumstances, especially when they were praying for people that are deaf. You know, they'd send the person to the far reaches of the hall and speak to them to see if they can hear them. This person has been deaf since birth. The person doesn't understand language, and you're saying, "Can you hear me?" Oh, they can hear you, but all they can hear is a sound. But you get, well, maybe it didn't work because of the fact that they can't fucking understand the language. Because there's no understanding. Then, of course, this person's been deaf since birth. So don't do something stupid, like put them too far away so they can't read your lips. All they can hear is a noise. Do they know it's you speaking? No. All they can hear is a sound. They don't know what the sound is. You're trying to prove how clever you are, saying, "Can you hear me?" And they're going, I heard something, but I don't know what I heard. Yeah, and of course, more than often, they can't communicate also because being deaf, they've often just used sign language. They've not used spoken language. They can speak to a certain degree, but even when they speak, can they understand what they're saying? Don't know. That's the point. Don't know. You have to ask them. Do you bother to do that first before you send them off so you can test whether they've been healed? What? There's been too much crap over the years. There really has. Too much crap over the years. And now the church won't even bother to pray for people. In general, they won't. It's ridiculous. And a lot of churches don't even speak about the spiritual gifts. They won't even speak about the helper, the Holy Spirit. They won't even teach about that. Oh, God. And you call yourself a Christian church. How the bloody hell do you have whatever to call yourself a Christian church when you leave out such a massive part of it? There's some people that don't believe you have to be baptised anymore. Scusi? Beginning teaching for babies. If you get to be an adult Christian and you're not being baptised, something went badly wrong at the beginning, really. Yeah, if the Lord is saying you have to be baptised, even he was baptised, what the heck again? Come on. The arrogance of it. Yeah. 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 But I see, I'm just watching a video of people hearing for the first time, and it's beautiful. It's incredibly beautiful. When I was watching it, I said to Father, I bet that absolutely melts your heart, seeing these people being blessed in such a way. But then I was filled with anger, because it's like, Father, you should be seeing this all the time. You should be seeing this all the time, because your people should be laying hands on the sick and they should be being healed. The problem is they're not, because what is it with, yeah. Like I said before, I was in a church in, I think, where was this church? I don't know where this church was. I think it was probably Kent. Gillingham in Kent. There was a young lady who had been prayed for so many times, about 50 times, 100 times for her ear. She had an ear infection. And she'd been prayed for all those times and never been healed. At no point in time during those 100 times did anyone actually stop and say, Father, what's going on here? Why has this woman, young lady, not received healing? Yeah, and actually, even then, yeah, one of the first things, if I was asked to deal with that person, one of the first things I'd do is say to that person, okay, we need to basically set you free from all those idiots in the past who prayed for you when they shouldn't have done. Because you weren't healed. So either God wasn't going to heal you, or they didn't have enough faith to actually Or certainly they didn't have the understanding. Oh, we seem to have gone on to a slightly noisier video. Obviously I didn't connect the thing into the mic to stop the sound. Okay. See how this one works. If it's too noisy, then I'll have to replace it with something that isn't so noisy. One second, because I can hear it way too much myself, so I think the sound is way too high. Yeah, let's turn that down a bit. There you go, it's better. Well, folks, as I say, the situation is quite simple when it comes down to it. Yeah, if you're going to pray for someone, you've got to basically clean the slate first. If 100 people have prayed for this person, obviously there might be unbelief in this person. You've got to deal with that first, haven't you? Because when you go and pray for people, it's not in any way, shape or form about there being power in you that comes from you to that person. That has never happened. It might have done with Yeshua, but it hasn't happened with man. With normal man. With the Son of God, maybe. But not with normal man. It hasn't happened. The power does not come through us, or is not in us to be released or anything like that. Certainly since the Lord did what he did, is by his stripes you are healed. You are healed, already done. What do you need to do? Receive it. So what's the point of somebody praying for you? The point of that is to exercise your faith. Is to stir up your faith to you're in a position where you can receive. So yeah. But to keep on praying for someone, even though you know so many people have prayed for that person already. Oh, there's so many levels of stupidity there. It really is. And ego. Those 99 people before you couldn't do it, but you can do it. Because you are a man of God. Yeah, it didn't work, I did it, no. I imagine that woman is now probably in her 30s, and she's probably still got the same issue with her ear. She might actually have lost her hearing completely in the ear now. It's because people treat Christianity as a flipping game. Oh, don't you know, I was just about to say another word there. Yeah. I changed it to flipping. Yeah. Yeah, they treat it as a game. Healing is a game. The healing team, most churches have a healing team. That healing team is basically just the old folks. And they're the healing team because of what? Because, why? What's going on there? Why is that person picked to be part of the healing team? What the heck is going on there? Yeah? It's utterly and totally ridiculous. The church doesn't really care whether somebody has been chosen by God to do that. As I say, there was that I've forgotten what his name is now. The American chap with dreadlocks. So I don't know. Not an Afro-Caribbean, not a brown skin man. Yeah, pinky skin man, but with dreadlocks. Okay. His hair obviously meant quite a lot to him. But he was teaching people to basically just go out and pray for people. And when it doesn't happen, don't worry, just keep on praying for people. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to help, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to help the people you're praying for when nothing's happening, yes? And the more people pray for them when nothing's happening, their own faith, their own relationship with God gets damaged as a result by that. Great! Yeah. Good idea. Keep doing that. Yeah, fake it until you make it, basically. That's often been the philosophy, isn't it? I was in a church, King's Church in Chatham, Kent, who basically told people when we had the Toronto blessing to just make the noises like a washing machine, humming noise, until you start speaking in tongues. Or just pretend, just start speaking gibberish, and eventually you'll start speaking in tongues. Where in the Bible did you get that? I mean, really, where in the Bible did you find that? Oh, you didn't find it in the Bible. You're just making this shit up as you're going along. Because you can't be bothered to read the Bible. You can't be bothered to be guided by the Holy Spirit. You're just basically talking shit and making it up as you're going along. Great. Yeah, we're supposed to be guided by that, aren't we? Absolutely fantastic. Really, I mean, wow. Yeah. That sort of stuff, it infuriates me. Well, as I say, I mean, look at the situation with regards to church and stuff like that. It ain't good. That's a certainty. It ain't good. It's not impressive. When the world is having to deal with stuff like in the church I was in, they were praying that the doctors and the hospitals, that God will help the doctors and the hospitals to deal with COVID and cancer. Excuse me, you are a Pentecostal church, and you are praying that the doctors and the hospitals will deal with COVID? Excuse me. What chance is there if you're in a Baptist church or a Methodist church? If the Pentecostal church, which was set up because of the whole point about the working of the Holy Spirit and the spiritual gifts, if they're passing all of that over to the world, to the doctors and the hospitals, then my God, what chance is there for the rest? I hope that the people that believe there can be a revival, it'd be lovely if they're right. Because then, okay, it means that all of that can be sorted out. But do I think it will be? No, I don't. I don't. Honestly don't. Not now. I think it's gone too far. I think God is starting anew. I think he's doing as he did in the time of the flood and all of that. He's starting anew now. He says, well, okay, that worked only as well as it could. So there you go. The problem is, again, it's reliant upon people, isn't it? And the problem is that people... that's why I say you've got to have the right people around you. You've got to have the people around you that are going to keep you, and on that path, and where you've got accountability and you've got all of that. You've got to have that. If you don't have that, you're going to go astray. You really are. We need God to make sure that he brings... we need God to bring the right people into our lives who are going to help us to raise the bar. Instead of actually saying the church is doing really, really well, don't say a blinking thing. Let people tell us. Like in all of my videos, have I ever really been saying that I'm doing incredibly well? No. It's not up to me to say that. It's up to others to say that. If I am, then it's up to others to say I'm doing well. It's up to Father really to say it, isn't it? Well, there you go. You take care. God bless. I will... I suppose there's evidence of saying, mention a church and doing well, and there you go. I get annoyed. But it was just, as I say, watching that video about people hearing for the first time, that triggered me. Anyway, but as I said before, all the people that have done all these things and been responsible for all these things, it doesn't matter. Because they're all forgiven. This is all things that have happened in the past. It's where they were. It's not necessarily where they will finish. And as I said, the Lord has forgiven all these people. Anyway, He paid for all their sins. So God just wants relationships with these people. That's the point, really. But I've been in that situation for way too long. I have to say, within about sort of at least 2 years of being a Christian, what I've just described, when I get triggered, that's been the case ever since then. Which has made being in a church really difficult, to say the least. Because you can see perfectly clearly that this is not what it's supposed to be, not in any way, shape or form. It just isn't. It's so... Yuck. It just isn't good in any way, shape or form. Really isn't. It's well, I've described it as accurately as I can in many different videos, talking about the fact that church has been given over to the world by the people in the church. They decide to do things completely according to the world, not according to God. But because there was never a point in time when the church decided, we're actually going to do things according to the world. But there were times when they decided to take action and to do things in a certain way that meant they were doing things according to the world. As I say, do I think that anyone was as cold as that, actually making a decision that they wanted to do things according to the world? No. Not in any way, shape or form, no. But of course not, no. Not at all. But, is that a reality that that's where they ended up? Yes. Mm-hmm. And as I say, I think a lot of people in church already know that. They just don't know how to fix it. And they're crying out to God, to fix it. But God has basically already decided a long time ago He wasn't going to. It wasn't part of His plan. Well, was it part of His plan to fix the Jewish belief? No. It was basically His decision, even 1,000 years before that, to replace it. They were waiting for Messiah, and Messiah came, but the Messiah basically said, right, I'm here for everybody. I'm going to pay for the price of everybody, not just for you. That was God's plan. And the thing of it is, the Christian church is now in the same position as that Jewish church was. Jewish belief was. Judaism was in that position. Whatever. The Christian church is now in that situation where it's now going to be replaced by something. And replaced by something that's more inclusive and simplified. Well, because that's the point. Wasn't there a simplification between the Jewish belief and the Christian belief? Of everything was just simplified, wasn't it? And that's happening again now. That's what's happening now. Is that things are being simplified. All of what was Christianity about, you have to be in Yeshua. Yeshua has to be in you. You have to do this. You have to tithe. You have to fast. You have to do all these things. Now, what you have to do? Whatever Father's telling you. And generally speaking, most of that's going to be resting. Most of it is going to be resting because, the reality is that until God basically says go, you're not going to go. Because if you try and go, you're only going to go in your strength. And what's the point in that? As I say, I think really, from what I pointed out in the last couple of days, we've seen where the church has gone when it's been done in the strength of humans. So therefore, if I try and do anything in my strength, how's that going to work? Well, how has it worked so far for me over all these years? Brilliantly well? Not really. So it has to be God's will, God's way, God's timing. And beforehand, before I get to any of that, God's will, God's way, God's timing, I have to learn how to walk and to be of His nature rather than mine. All of this is going to take time. And as I say, the problem is we are not the most patient people. Not in any way, shape or form. I'm not. God, no, I'm not. So is it easy to walk in this? No, not at all. But especially because, as I've said already so many times, when I've seen all this stuff in the church where God wasn't glorified, when I look back at the first 27 years of my life in relationship with God in any way, shape or form, all I see is that Father wasn't glorified. And so I desperately want my life to glorify Father, and at the moment it just isn't doing that. Not from what I can see. And so that is so difficult. To be so close and yet still so far away is, yeah. But we are going to get there. That's a certainty. We are going to get there. We are. Because this is all part of God's plan. It was part of God's plan for Judaism to be surpassed by Christianity. And this, what God's doing now, is there a name for it? No, not that I know of. Does there need to be a name for it? I don't know. No idea. I really don't know. And if there needs to be a name, hopefully God chooses His time. Yeah. That'd be quite useful. Yes. Call it the sonship, I suppose. Although, of course, that's going to really pee off a lot of people in society. All these people that have been banging on about women's rights and, you know, gender issues and stuff like that. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if God chooses that name, because God doesn't care what the left wing or the right wing think. In any way, shape or form. But He's not going to pick a name just to pee them off. I would, but God won't. I would. I would, yeah. Well, it's just like earlier, I was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, speaking to God about sonship and about authority. Because I felt God was saying to me that I do have the authority now. His authority. But then what I felt God was saying after that is, having that authority doesn't really mean anything, because it's like you have an electrical key that opens a door, but until that key is activated, you can't open a door. It's just a key. It's basically a dead key. And so, yeah, okay. You know, when I need it, it will be activated. When I'm supposed to walk in it, it would be there. It would be for me to use. But until I'm at a point where I've been trained and moulded according to His nature, I will not be using His authority. Even though it's there, it's available. I won't be giving it to use until I'm going to use it in a way that's of His nature. And am I there yet? No. Not yet, no. So it's like that that person who gently attacked me earlier. I said, she said that I think I'm above all these other people. No, they're not there yet, neither am I. So I don't think of myself as above them. Do I think of myself at the moment as further along than most? Yes. Not further along than all, but further along than most, yes. But that doesn't mean that I will be further along than most at the end. That really does depend on what Father wants of me and whether I stay the course. And of that, I can only say, God willing, I hope so. Because otherwise, what the heck is the point? Well, it's like, talking about church, my understanding of church and that sort of stuff is, what is the point in going to church if you're just going to sit there and, listen to that crap, that lukewarm puke, sing a couple of worship songs that are more head than heart, and then go home and do whatever you're going to do anyway? Do you want to be people that are going to make a difference? If you do, then you've got to start doing things differently. That's the reality. You've got to just start doing things differently, because you can't expect different results while doing things the same way. That is stupidity. So we've got to start doing things differently. Okay, well, what does that mean? No, the reality is, what is that going to mean for you? That really is between you and Father. It is. Keep on saying the same bloody thing, but it really is between you and Father. It really is about you developing a relationship with Father so you can be led and guided by Father to walk in what that is for you. What that's supposed to look like for you. You've been moulded by God for a purpose. You are exactly who you need to be for what you need to walk into. The problem is, you don't know what you need to walk into. In most cases, that's the case. But Father knows. So yeah. There you go. That'll do you for now. Yeah. That'll do you for now. Right, you take care. God bless. I will speak to you soon. Have a fantastic rest of the week. And yeah, look, I've just raged a bit about the church, but I'm actually in a fantastic mood. So don't worry. I'm really doing incredibly well. So I'm happy and at peace with stuff. So there you go. You take care. God bless. Bye.